coffee break on the HAN network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including a fire destroying a home in Ridgefield, an update on that Stratford shooting, and burglars caught on camera in New Canaan. Later on in the show, John Kovach will join me to take a look at the front pages of our newspapers this week, and Frank will have a look at your forecast and a Nutmeg sports update. And of course, Donald Ang will join us to take a look back on this day in history. But first, in Ridgefield, a Mid-Rocks Road home suffered extensive damage from a fire on Wednesday. According to Fire Chief Kevin Tappy, 2 teenage girls were inside the home and smelled smoke coming from the basement, but were not injured in that blaze. Chief Tappy said Thursday that flames were as high as 20 to 25 feet in the air when firefighters first arrived on scene. He said the home is half destroyed. The rear area of it is totally burned. According to a Facebook post, the fire damage was extensive and has left the family that lived there homeless. The neighbor's post said that donations can be dropped off for the family at St. Stephen's Church office. They added that they have not been able to get clothing sizes for the mother and 2 teenage daughters, but once they get that settled, they'll post more details about it. And in an update on a story we brought you yesterday, a man was shot early Wednesday morning in Lordship after exchanging fire with a Stratford police officer. State police and Stratford police officers were summoned to Margarita Lane and Park Boulevard early Wednesday morning. Stratford Deputy Police Chief John Popick said that officers responded to the area near Russian Beach around 4:45 in the morning to investigate a report of a man with a gun. Popick said the man immediately fired his weapon at responding officers. Popick said 2 Stratford officers were able to return fire and the man was struck and fell to the ground. The man, who was not identified, was taken to Bridgeport Hospital, where he was listed Wednesday afternoon in stable condition. The 2 officers, who have also not been identified, have been placed on paid administrative leave. The shooting is being investigated by the Fairfield Judicial District State's Attorney's Office and the Connecticut State Police. Popick said it appears the shooting was an isolated incident and there is no imminent threat or danger to the public. More on that story at StratfordStar.com. And New Canaan police investigated 2 residential burglaries yesterday afternoon, resulting in theft of jewelry and other items. That first burglary was reported at about 12:19 p.m. on Birchwood Avenue. Rich Durazo of the New Canaan Advertiser sent us this surveillance footage of that burglary in progress. The homeowner was alerted via his video surveillance system that a person was at his house. It was at that time that the homeowner viewed the 2 suspects force entry into his home through a rear door. New Canaan Lieutenant Jason Ferraro said in a report released that the homeowner immediately called the New Canaan police and officers were dispatched. Upon arriving, officers were unable to apprehend the suspects, who fled in a white 4-door hatchback, an older model Subaru Impreza, which had a missing front license plate. The second burglary occurred around 2:18 in the afternoon at a residence on Old Norwalk Road. A resident of Old Norwalk Road contacted New Canaan police to report the burglary at their residence. Entry there was made through an unlocked door. The New Canaan police encourage all residents to set alarms, lock their doors, and install security cameras. And they ask that anyone with information about these incidents contact them at 203-594-3520. And according to the Wilton Bulletin, at least 1 person over the age of 18 is included in the investigation of a fight between Ridgefield and Wilton students that happened August 31st and sent a Ridgefield football player to the hospital. There were 10 students from each side involved, with more coming, but the 2 sides have not been cooperative, and much of the information from interviews with police has contradicted other information. That, according to Lieutenant Stephen Brennan. Brennan said, "We're piecing it together." On Tuesday, September 13th, there were reports of a blunt weapon like a bat or golf club used in that fight, and police are not ruling anything out. Last week, police reported that a golf club and a bat weren't used in the fight. Wilton police also said Friday, September 2nd, that Ridgefield students had gone to Wilton High School as part of a scavenger hunt, where members of the high school class participate in pranks and challenges. One of the items was to urinate on the Wilton High football field, and that spurred the conflict. And the Norwalk police are asking for the public's help in identifying some burglars. This burglary occurred September 6 at around 3:55 in the morning. A Ford Econoline van was burglarized within an apartment complex on Oakwood Avenue, and an iPad was stolen. The suspects used a black or dark-colored newer model BMW with chrome rims and no front plate. The two suspects exited the BMW and then attempted to gain entry into multiple vehicles. Suspect 1 is described as Hispanic or a light-skinned black male wearing a hat with white writing, checkered black and white shorts, and dark-colored high-top sneakers. Suspect 2 is a taller individual wearing shorts and a baseball-style hat. Anyone with information can contact Norwalk officers at 203-854-3182. And Dr. Neil Culligan, Chief of Neurology at Danbury Hospital and founder of the Western Connecticut Concussion Center at Associated Neurologists, will discuss the symptoms, treatment, and prevention of concussions at the Mark Twain Library on Wednesday, September 28th at 7:30 in the evening. According to the doctor, there has been a lot of media coverage about concussions, and this increased awareness has led to better prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of concussions. However, there are also a lot of myths, he said. Dr. Culligan will discuss the state-of-the-art truths and myths about concussions and what we can all do to make our children and athletes safer. You can sign up for that free lecture at Mark Twain Library or call 203-938-2545. But let's throw it over to Frank Granito for a look at the forecast. Frank, it's pretty gorgeous out there.
And it looks like it is going to stay that way all weekend, Kate. Gorgeous is the right word today, with temperatures in the low 70s, almost no humidity, wind gusts up around 12 miles per hour. Mostly sunny all day long, and through the evening we'll see clear skies overnight, and it will cool down with an expected low of about 53. Tomorrow should be another great one with lots of sun early in the day and some light cloud cover moving in later in the afternoon. Temperatures again in the low to mid 70s, no humidity, and a light breeze tomorrow evening, what should be some perfect football weather as we get set for our game of the week between Ridgefield and New Canaan. Saturday, we'll see periods of on and off clouds throughout the day. Temperatures staying in the mid 70s and wind gusts back up around 10 miles per hour. A little warmer overnight on Saturday with an expected low of 65 as we head towards what may be a storm-riddled Sunday, but looks like we're going to have perfect weather the next couple of days, Kate, as we get to spend plenty of time outside for football.
That's awesome. All right, Frank, thank you so much. We are going to step out for a break. When we come back, Donald Eng takes a look back on this day in history. Frank has a Nutmeg sports update, and we have some more news coming up after this.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking. To a partner that makes small businesses feel big. Where community comes first. Where high-tech tools go hand in hand with a human touch. Where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver. Where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
I'm a filthy rich executive. I hear the market's down 1,000,000 points. I freak out. I spill my large espresso. Hearing pain, you slam on the brakes. Your fault. And your cut rate insurance may not cover my $90,000 car, so I sue you, because that's what I do. So get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Mayhem is everywhere, so get an Allstate agent. Are you in good hands?
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with the Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
The leaves are changing, water temps dropping, and the sun is setting a little earlier each day. But there's still a lot of great boating, fishing, and coast time left before we see the first snow. And above all, remember, it's always summer at the Dock Shop. With loads of new fishing tackle and accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor, the Dock Shop is just what you need when you start to feel that New England autumn chill. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
We're back on this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. It is September 15th, the last day this week to guess what's going to be in Donald Ng's Look Back on This Day in History. Let's throw it over to Don right now to find out what he's got for us today.
Some outstanding guesses. I'm actually in suspense to see who picked what. But we begin in 1835. HMS Beagle with Charles Darwin aboard reaches the Galapagos Islands. In the 5 weeks he spent ashore, Darwin noticed that animals, most notably finches and tortoises, differed slightly between the islands and that the differences appeared to be related to the differing environments on each island. Darwin speculated the separation might undermine the stability of species, a critical fact in Darwin's development of his theory of natural selection, which was presented in The Origin of Species 24 years later. To 1915. Having halted the German offensive at the Battle of the Marne, Allied soldiers protect themselves from machine gun fire and artillery by digging a trench. By the time the war ended, the trench line stretched from the North Sea coast of Belgium south through France to the Swiss border, more than 25,000 miles of fortifications. To 1978. At the Superdome in New Orleans, boxer Muhammad Ali defeats Leon Spinks to win the World Heavyweight Boxing title for the 3rd time in his career, the first man ever to win the heavyweight title 3 times. Already showing signs of slurred speech due to undiagnosed Parkinson's syndrome, Ali retired from boxing only to make a brief and disastrous comeback 2 years later. Finally, now we go to 1954, New York City for this.
Didn't you just love the picture? I did, but I just felt so sorry for the creature at the end.
Sorry for the creature? Why'd you want him to marry the girl?
He was kind of scary looking, but he wasn't really all bad. I think he just craved a little affection, you know, a sense of being loved and needed and wanted.
That's a very interesting point of view.
Oh, do you feel the breeze from the subway? Isn't it delicious?
Sort of cools the ankles, doesn't it?
Sure cools the ankles. That iconic Marilyn Monroe subway skirt scene shot during the filming of The 7-Year Itch on location at the intersection of Lexington Ave and 52nd Street. Still photos of the laughing Marilyn are perhaps the most iconic in film history. The scene was shot on location, but the crowd noise made the film unusable. The final version that actually appeared in the film that you saw there was shot on an LA soundstage a few weeks later. That is your look back in history for today, September 15th, and I'm Donald Ng.
All right, I got Marilyn Monroe, so I'm excited about that. Nothing else, but I got that one.
See, that's one of Don's trends, okay? We like movie starlets.
Yes. All right, thank you so much, Don. In other news, in Shelton, attorney Dominic Thomas said if the city of Shelton wants to preserve a portion of the open space located within the 121-acre piece of land owned by Royal Wells, where developers want to build town center at Shelter Ridge, then they'll have to buy it. Conservation Commission Chair Tom Harbison wrote a letter to Planning and Zoning to be read at its September 7th meeting. That letter voiced disappointment with the modified site plan as presented and said the developers hadn't taken into consideration the Conservation Commission's initial concerns of the development's effect on wildlife or the ongoing plans of the city. But there's a lot more on that story at SheltonHerald.com. Let's throw it back over to Frank, who got a couple right in today's history.
I did. I got the Galapagos. I'm very happy about that. Shout out to James Frere as well, who guessed the Galapagos Islands. Probably not good the sports director couldn't get the Muhammad Ali one right, though. Well, yesterday we were live at Staples High School for a volleyball matchup between the Wreckers and the defending FCIAC and state champion Fairfield Ludlow Falcons. What started out as a back-and-forth matchup turned into quite the runaway as Staples shut out the Falcons 3-0, including a whopping 25-4 third set. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the match. Good afternoon and welcome to the gymnasium on the campus of Staples High School. This one touches just off the net again. Up in the air, a little miscommunication amongst the Wreckers as the Falcons are rolling. And taking a timeout for Staples. Off the net, falls down. Staples takes the first set. Good rally here. Someone is going to have to earn this point. Set on the line for the Wreckers. Blocked at the net. Sent towards the back corner. Dropping down. It is 2-0 Staples as we head to the third set. And illegally played there. It was a double touch. 16-0 the score. Set to the middle. Steensma, it's long, and the Wreckers finish off the shutout in what was a dominant performance. Ginny, congrats. So as we see there, Staples the 3-0 win. They were down 9-1 in the first set. They ended up winning 29-27, 25-20 in the second set, but they started the third set on a 16-0 run before the Falcons were able to break through for a point. Some other scores from around the FCIAC included Trumbull over St. Joe's 3-1 and New Canaan getting past Staples 3-0 in volleyball. For more FCIAC scores, make sure you turn into Nutmeg Sports this afternoon with Donald Ang and myself at 2 o'clock, where we will also preview our game of the week between the Ridgefield Tigers and New Canaan Rams. Don't forget, we'll be live at Dunning Stadium all day tomorrow, and we will kick off our pregame coverage at 5:15 with FCIAC Tailgate. That's going to do it for this Nutmeg Sports Update. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, tomorrow's going to be a good time.
Should be a lot of fun.
Frank. All right, well, staying on a sports theme, the new organic turf field at Wilton High School was officially opened with a ribbon cutting on Friday, September 9th, right before the field hockey season opener. That field was installed in August and is made primarily of coconut husks. Interesting. And finally, a man of the sea was honored Wednesday when Stratford named its community farm after the late state representative Terry Backer. Backer died in December at the age of 61 after battling cancer. As soundkeeper, Backer was a friend to fishermen, lobstermen, oystermen, and others who wanted a Long Island Sound as a thriving part of their lives. As a state representative for the 121st District, Backer advocated for laws to protect the environment. And when the town of Stratford purchased the former Perhala farm, Backer and Soundkeeper oversaw its operation, creating an organic community garden where anyone could grow food. Check out this video that John Kovach got yesterday of that dedication.
You know, Terry Backer was an interesting man, and we all knew him really as being a man of the sea. And certainly he was, and, you know, being the soundkeeper, he cared about the environment, not only in the water, but also on land. And Terry got involved with this garden, which was kind of out of his wheelhouse, but he really took it under his wing, adopted it, cared for it, would come to my office a lot, giving me updates, but he ended up not only being a person of the sea, but a farmer of all things. And Terry Backer was a colleague of mine when I was in the State House. He was a man bigger than life, and those that serve with him can attest to that. And he was just an amazing person overall with a really big heart. But he was practical, and he liked to get things done. This was important to him because he felt as though people in the community could come here if they didn't have the resources or the land, and come and have a garden. This is a former Perhala farm site that the town purchased, thank goodness, to preserve for the use that the public can enjoy. And across the street,
I'm dressed in honor of Terry today.
A little bit of a glitch there in the video, but you're going to be hearing more about that on Yankee Fisherman today at 1 o'clock. It's a really beautiful garden worth checking out in Stratford. We're going to step out for a break now, and when we come back, John Kovach joins me, and we're going to preview the front pages of our newspapers this week after this. Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
As you're getting back to your regular schedules, we're excited to get back to doing what we do best, offering you the freshest seasonal fare and all the ingredients for a healthy start to school. So shop Walter Stewart's for everything fresh, from A, apples to Z, zucchini, and from cotton candy grapes to back to nature all-natural snack bags. We save you time by stocking all of your favorite back-to-school essentials under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
At Greenwood Physical Therapy of Bethel, individualized care, knowledgeable staff, and state-of-the-art equipment provide the best of orthopedic and sports medicine services. Our experienced therapists at Greenwood provide the highest level of knowledge and care. Greenwood accepts most kinds of insurance, and staff are there to answer your questions. Open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., the clinic serves the greater Danbury area and is a convenient drive from Reading. Appointments are available within 24 hours. Just call 203-917-4792 or visit greenwoodphysicaltherapy.com for more information.
Washington Prime, now open on Main Street in Georgetown. Come enjoy our relaxed setting, excellent service, award-winning nightly happy hours, and feast on our creative new American cuisine. Connecticut Magazine's winner for Best Steak, Washington Prime of Georgetown.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. More than 1.5 million viewers have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment broadcasting since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
We are back on this Thursday edition of Your Coffee Break. Our editorial director, John Kovach, joins me now to preview our front pages this week, John. And we have something pretty cool in the Reading Pilot.
Michael Ian Black, if you don't know who he is, you'll know his face, and you'll recognize his face on the front page of the Reading Pilot. And he also wrote the story, this about the 2016, the 3rd annual Pudd'nhead Prize given out at the Mark Twain Library in Reading. Very cool stuff there. On a more mundane note, it's going to cost $70,000 to replace the boiler at Reading Elementary School. A remembrance of 9/11 and news that may or may not be shocking, the Georgetown Saloon closing yet again.
3rd or 4th time in recent history. Wow. All right. Well, taking a look at the Ridgefield Press, education funding is broken, according to a judge's ruling. A decision there as a challenge to special education. A judge's brutal indictment of Connecticut's educational failures. Interesting story there. Definitely check that out. And potentially in Ridgefield, a new cell tower coming. This would be near Pamby's Auto Dealership off of Route 7. So that is interesting there. And more kids and more teachers, school closing process revisited as there is an influx of students in Ridgefield.
O is cyclical and O is forces revisiting the decisions in the very near future. Looking back into the past, in Weston, the 110th annual Emmanuel Fair, that is on Saturday. That is at Emmanuel Church at 285 Lions Plains Road. Is it time for the Norfield tree to come down? And this is a landmark tree on Norfield Road, but it is close to the road, and that's going to be the subject of debate. And a first-person story by Weston's intern, Rebecca Agabian, about lessons that she learned while teaching others this summer.
All right, well, taking a look at the front page of the Wilton Bulletin, some great pictures by Brian Hafley of the Connecticut United Ride, which rode through several towns over the weekend in honor of and remembrance of 9/11. And there's some great photos there. Wilton also gathering for their own 9/11 ceremony, remembering the day when evil struck. An interesting story by Tony Spinelli that the dry weather patterns that we've been having will hurt classic fall. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
In New Canaan, the public looking to have an influence on the decision on the Merritt Village proposal left for condos and other structures near St. Aloysius Church. Speaking of buildings, now we're hearing that the Outback Teen Center building may be safe. That after it was closed amid talk of it not being safe, which I found interesting. A ceremony marking 9/11, which was big in New Canaan. That's where I was editor on that day. And a victorious opener for the Rams, and Dave Stewart really can capture the emotion of sports so well in his photographs.
Some nice porta potties in the background there, too.
Well, I was trying to avoid those, but yes.
Hey, they're necessary, right?
Yes.
All right, well, taking a look at the front page of the Darien Times, a blight ordinance set to move forward. Those can always be nice and controversial. As well as a really wonderful photo by Lorene Valenti of an honor 9/11 ceremony and with a former fire chief there. 6 Darien men died in those attacks. As well as paramedic contract finalized and effective October 1st, and a lot more in the Darien Times this week.
Another somber yet striking photo on the front page of the Milford Mirror as the fire chief rings the bell in memory of each of the 3 Milford men killed in the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. Also word that automated trucks are going to collect trash in the city of Milford. That should be interesting. And a 50th anniversary celebration at Christ the Redeemer Church, but at the organ for all of those 50 years has been Irene Ramos, and we'll talk to her a little bit.
Oh, that's great. All right, well, the Shelton Herald, Shelton High School still not up to fire code. This has been ongoing for several years, 2012 actually. I was editor at the Shelton Herald then, but now all those are planned to be fixed by 2017, so we'll see what happens there. Ethics Board vacancies filled. An interesting story, but a lot of redevelopment still going on in downtown Shelton. The Chromium building now set to be demolished September 19th, so it's finally going. It's been there a long time.
That I want to see if what goes there, because they have done a good job to a degree in Shelton of developing it and yet clinging to the historic architecture.
Right, redeveloping some buildings that could be redeveloped.
Correct.
I actually think that site's going to be a parking lot.
I think it has to be if
Right.
there's a Chrome
Yes.
company. In Stratford, Mayor John Harkins throws out the possibility of a referendum on the Shakespeare Theater. I'd be curious to see if that happened.
Yes.
And what the outcome would be. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Post in Stratford hosting its annual September 11th service, which they do a great job with that. And an update that I'm going to have to read because I'm fascinated by Stratford's aviation history. They are still working to fix the Curtis hangar at Sikorsky Airport, which is a historic hangar and a very historic site there.
It is. All right, well, taking a look at the Monroe Courier, something we talked about on Coffee Bake, but Fred Aker sentenced to 1 year in jail after being convicted on several animal cruelty charges. Interesting story by Tina Marie Craven. He still would like to work with animals, and I know there was some discussion on that in court. He was running an animal shelter, the SPCA of Connecticut, in Monroe. Also, some cool sculptures that are going to be on display. The Save Our Stepney Task Force, in cooperation with the town of Monroe, is featuring 3 of Dan Bergfield's sculptures on the Stepney Green from through November 18th. They're now there. And town approving a tennis court project in Monroe.
Easton, remembering 9/11 and a family that was affected by it, and a story about Billy Zhao, who carried a photo for a 24-hour challenge in memory of 9/11, and also a plea for compassion during Easton's annual 9/11 ceremony. Target shooting upsetting the neighbors in Easton, and revaluation is almost done, so those new tax bills should be set soon.
Revaluation, always a good time. Nothing more exciting than writing about revaluations. All right, I'm taking a look at the front page of the Trumbull Times. Some beautiful photos by Lisa Romanchik of the Fall Festival. Such a gorgeous sunset that we had last Saturday. Really beautiful. In some more Trumbull political news, Vicky Tesoro considered as a possible replacement for Tom Kelly, who has had to resign from the Board of Finance there. So that should be interesting. Tesoro was the one who had challenged Tim Herbst for first selectman, so I wonder how that's going to go. The first selectman's in charge of reappointing, and filling vacancies if somebody steps down. So anyway, and of
that
course,
won't be an interesting dynamic.
Yes, but we need to mention HAN Network coverage available on Frontier's Vantage Sports Network. So I know our own Frank Granito was on the Vantage Sports Network earlier this week discussing that, but our games this weekend are set to be live.
Yes, and I'm sure Frank will have much more on that on the expanded new day of Nutmeg Sports.
Yes.
But we are going to have Ridgefield at New Canaan from Dunning Field on the new turf there. That's Friday night. And then Saturday afternoon, we will be in Greenwich, live streaming the video as Trinity Catholic and Greenwich face off. Yeah. And in our arts and leisure section this week, 'tis the season, and the twins Judy and Joy look at a tomato crumble recipe. And a Reading cardiologist takes on the complexities of healthcare in his new book.
All right, very interesting there. Of course, we're going to wrap things up here, but Yankee Fisherman coming up at 1 o'clock.
We've got some great footage fishing on the Farmington last weekend. We are catching fish. I'm hoping to have news from the DEEP by the time we go on the air about the status of the partial closures where certain areas are off limits to fishing right now. We'll also have more from our trip out to Osage, and we'll have more from the dedication of Stratford's community farm at the former Prahala Farms in honor of State Rep Terry Backer.
Very cool. Okay, so that's coming up at 1 o'clock. As we mentioned earlier, HAN Arts and Leisure is now on Mondays at 12:30, but Nutmeg Sports will be coming at you today at 2, so definitely check that out, new day. We're going to wrap things up. John, thank you for joining me.
Anytime.
All right. Well, we will see you tomorrow when we're live in New Canaan for Coffee Break at 11. Have a great day.